To the Dead Film Society. I am your host today, Nick. I'm filling in for Spencer Lee at the moment. Spencer Lee isn't feeling too well today, so we do wish him the best recovery, and hopefully we'll see him in the coming weeks in our next episode. Until then, once again, I'm your host, Nick. I am here today greeted by two very special guests. First and foremost, of course, is Musa. Musa, how is it?
Man, I'm good. How about you, man? How you doing?
I'm doing all right. How you feel being on the show now?
I feel great. I'm marvelous, spectacular to be in the show.
Perfect. And you look spectacular too, buddy.
Thank you very much. I had to throw on for the show.
That's right. And everybody, of course, I also have an esteemed guest with me who also works in the back studio, the control room with me, usually on audio. We have Hassel here.
Hi, how's everyone doing tonight?
Yeah. How's it feel, Hassel, being on the other side of the spectrum? Being
Feels
on
a
the
little
other
funky.
side?
Definitely a little funky. I'm usually back there with you, helping out with the cameras and all that stuff. So it's pretty exciting to be on the show for the first time.
It is. It is. And I actually enjoy being on camera personally.
Yeah, it's a lot more fun.
But it's definitely different.
Yeah.
We'll say that much. So anyhow, as always, everybody, we're going to be jumping straight into the questions. Gentlemen, I have a series of questions for you to answer today regarding film production, in particular interviews, lighting, and settings today. Very first question.
All right.
Where do you guys begin when conducting an interview?
When I conduct an interview, I got to make sure my interviewee is comfortable and it's not feeling awkward. I make sure I ask him a series of questions. Sometimes they're personal, sometimes they're out of the world. I ask him like, is the world flat or something like that. But get him comfortable. Butter him up. That's what I do.
Butter him up. So you would say you use sort of your own personality to your advantage to make sure that the person that you're with, almost like you interpersonalize with them.
Yes.
Is that right? Awesome. Hassel, how about you?
I do a similar kind of thing. I get comfortable with the interviewee, and I ask them a series of questions, personal questions, and everything. And as I'm setting up, so I get something done at the same time. So I get the cameras, I get the lighting, and everything, and I'm talking to them. I'm interviewing them as I'm setting up. So it's like they don't know it, but it's happening. That's something that my teacher taught me, but. That's what
we won't mention him today.
We won't mention him today.
No. He's for a later episode.
That's what I use for my interview setup.
I gotcha. A bit off topic since we brought it up. Real quick, guys. How long does it take to usually set up for you?
For me, it varies on where I'm at. But trying to set up the light and everything takes me about 50 seconds. That's how quick I am.
50 seconds.
It seems a bit far-fetched, Musa. You sure about that? I'm really sure. Hassel, you got a realistic answer for us?
10 minutes.
10 minutes?
10 minutes to set up the cameras and the lights. Lights, it takes a little while to do that, to find the right angles and everything, but about 10 minutes.
You got to be faster than me. Come on now.
50 seconds.
50 seconds. I think so. World record.
Honestly, no matter how long it takes, I think it varies on the setting, who you're with, and how prepared you are as a filmmaker.
That's true.
And so that definitely leads into our next question, guys. What makes for an interesting setting? Where do you go when conducting an interview that will make the shot that much more interesting to look at for the viewer?
See, for me, I like to, the setting that I like to is have something in the background worth looking at. Sometimes you might want to distract the viewers from what's happening kind of in the interview. So, you want to have something in the background that, adds a spark to it.
Awesome. Also?
I just find certain things that are related to the interview. So, like, I'll give you an example. In one of my last interview that I did for a teacher that I had at my old school, on their computers was their school logo, and he was the digital arts teacher. So I set him up right next to a computer, in the back, and it had the school logo on it. And so I thought that was interesting because it went with the school and with the relation of what the teacher does.
Right, it's stuck with a theme.
Yeah,
and
stuck with the
theme of the
theme.
video.
You know, you got to stick with the theme for it to, you know.
Yeah, for sure. You got to keep relevance throughout the whole video, of
Mhm.
course. That makes complete sense. And sometimes we try and do that too. And I've run into this problem where we just cannot accomplish that because there's too much noise in the background or
Yeah.
something.
Yes.
Mhm.
That's a whole nother discussion,
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah.
But for now, I think we got a good introduction into what we're kind of looking at, what we're kind of talking about and going for this episode. We're going to take a quick commercial break. Gentlemen, stay tuned. Viewers at home, we'll be right back with you.
Like so. You see this?
Fantastic, and I definitely saw some very familiar faces in some of those ads as we watched them.
Yeah.
Oh, you laugh, guys, and I know why, 'cause those are some pretty good videos.
Yes, they are.
And I was lucky enough to be present for, I think, both of them.
Yeah.
For the most part,
Mhm.
yeah. Yours, a little bit different, but that's
Yeah.
all right. So anyhow, straight back into it. Gentlemen, third question. Do you prefer studio lighting to natural lighting, or do you prefer the natural ambient light instead of studio?
I would prefer studio light because, you know, I could change how I have the lighting. But, you know, natural light is more beautiful. You know, you have the light of the sun and, you know, the atmosphere.
Right.
So,
And not just the sun.
Yeah.
I mean, if you were filming at night, you got
yeah,
street
you got
lights
street
everywhere
lights,
and all
yes.
kinds of stuff.
Yeah, all those beautiful lights.
I definitely prefer natural and ambient light. I think it's a little harder to work with, but I feel like it's a lot more interesting for a filmmaker to have that in their film. Like, you know, you have the setting of the natural light, so you can be there with the characters.
Mhm.
So I think it's a lot better with natural light.
And you know, it's a really hard decision to make too, because I do enjoy natural light a ton, but it's very chaotic.
Yes.
Sometimes you got to be in the right place at the
Mhm.
right time sometimes. And studio light, although fabricated, let's say, and sometimes you can even tell, yeah, it's being filmed in a
Yes.
studio, right? Even with major big budget movies and such.
Yeah.
Even then, at least it's still controlled light,
Yes.
and you can get, you know, to do what you want it to do. So I see both ends of the spectrum, but I think you two both got something going on with the whole natural.
Yeah.
light,
Yeah.
just because it feels more real,
Mhm.
in a sense.
Yes.
So, with that said, and we're going back to interviews now,
Okay.
because studio lighting to natural lighting, that's just one thing that goes into the setting
Mhm.
of an interview. So, with that said, with an interviewer, and you sort of touched on this in the beginning, I think, how does one make somebody feel comfortable during their interview? You as the interviewer, how do you make your interviewee feel more settled?
I mean, like I said, man, you want to get them comfortable. So, you know, you want to ask them questions like, you know, what'd you eat for breakfast and stuff like that. You know, you want to ask the small questions when you're doing all that stuff. You know, what'd you eat for breakfast? What's your dog's name? And stuff like that. Like, what's your favorite TV show? You know, get them comfortable. And, you know, like I said, buttered up.
Buttered up. That's the motto of the
That's a
day.
thing.
Butter them up. Yeah. So you try and personalize.
Yes.
With your clientele,
Mhm.
basically. Going off of that, even, is there a barrier, or even more so, is there a line that you just do not cross?
The line that I don't cross is asking them about, personal issues like of, something like a life, like a death within the family, or anything like about their marriage if they're married, and just anything personal from the lives I avoid. That's my barrier. That's a line I don't cross. Personal life matters.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. You gotta stick with the barriers.
Yes.
'Cause if you go like over the barrier, then that will get offended, and then you won't have shots
Yeah.
for anything. You won't have nothing for your project.
Yeah.
So you definitely want to stick behind those barriers.
Yeah, you want to ask questions like, if you're the interviewee, what kind of questions would you want to ask about you?
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
That's almost going back to the first episode, which of course you weren't present for, but we did talk about the golden rule.
Mhm.
And the golden rule is...
You got me.
Oh, come on. I'm sorry,
I was
everybody.
back there. Sorry.
The golden rule is treat others as you would like to be treated
Yes.
yourself. I think you're right. Same thing with your clientele, because your client is also your customer,
Yes.
essentially. They are paying you to do a job or otherwise, and customer's always right
Yes.
in that case. So yeah, don't cross any boundaries, right? I gotcha. Well, gentlemen, we're coming down to our fifth and final question of the evening.
All right.
Maybe this goes up. I guess it's up to me. Gentlemen, would you rather, in your video that you produce, have your audience cry or laugh? How would you want them to react?
See, me personally, I like to add both. So when I add, I like to add twists in my films. I like to add life lessons, things that have happened in my life, and sometimes they're funny, sometimes they're sad. But I would like to make them cry, feel the emotion, because I'd rather have crying in my film than laughing. But at the same time, I want the laughter. When I make a film, out of nowhere, just, people start laughing, even though it's a sad film.
Could you make them cry from laughter even?
Yes, I can. So
yeah?
saying both, yeah.
You think you have that capability as a filmmaker
I
too?
definitely do. I definitely do.
All right,
Yes.
all right. What if they laughed because they were crying so hard? You ever see that? My mom does that sometimes.
I've never seen that.
Nah?
That'd be something really fantastic to see.
It would be.
Yes.
So, cry or laugh?
I definitely got to say cry. I mean, I feel like I did my job if I got the viewer to cry. Feel that emotion that's like going on in the film. I feel like it hooks onto them more. So like if they'll keep watching, hoping something gets better, and if something doesn't, then they're left with, wow, that was a really sad movie or something.
Yeah,
but,
like that thrill.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that thrill. I like that more. Most of my movies are upsetting. They're not really funny or anything. They're more serious films.
They are very serious.
Very serious.
From what I've seen, yeah.
So I got to say, like my last film that I did, it was really serious. I mean, that was the most serious film I've done, and like I hope that at least gets some emotion out of somebody, So I feel like I'm better with that, anyways. So I definitely got to say cry.
You know what I just realized? We had a commercial for it too.
Yeah,
it
was that one.
And like
The actor,
the main star right here
Uh-huh.
on set with me today. That's man, this is a pleasure.
Yes.
Let me tell you. But I feel like laughter comes down to just comedy.
Yes.
It's one broad emotion for the most part, and there are different ways of going about comedy and making people laugh. There's dark humor, there's light humor, there's Adam Sandler humor, there's all kinds of stuff out there. But I think the nature of crying doesn't just go back to sadness.
No. Yeah.
I think it encompasses a whole array of emotions. And so in Hassel's last video, I remember you kind of use suspense and very kind of blunt drama to get that message across.
It really hit you hard.
Yeah.
I mean, like there was like no lighthearted moments at all. But
yeah. Well, everybody, thanks for joining us on the Dead Film Society. Until next time, I think we've had a lot of information given to us. See y'all next time. Good night.